Hi, and welcome to another video by Get It Done Home Repairs. Today we're going to be installing an electrical outlet in this wall where there is no outlet before. We want to put it down in the bottom over here. I'm going to bring you in there. I'm going to show you where we're going to put it. But there is no outlet in the wall now. It's just a regular sheetrock wall, and we want to install a socket like this so we can plug into it. A couple things you need to have before you get started, and I'm going to bring you in there. I'm going to show you what they are. But the most important thing to find out is, do you have power someplace that you can tie into to bring the power down to the new switch that we're going to be installing? All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to come in here, we're going to open this up, and we're going to come in here with a tester to make sure that we have power in here constantly. We don't want power when the switch is on and no power when the switch is off. We want to make sure that we have power in there all the time, so that way that outlet is always going to be alive. All right, so let me show you what tools you're going to need, and then we're going to get started and we're going to get this job done. So these are a couple of things that we're going to need. One, we're going to need a pair of wire strippers. We're going to need a flashlight because we will need to turn the power off when we're working. We're going to need a couple of screwdrivers, a Phillips head and a flathead screwdriver. We're going to need a pencil to mark the location of where we're going to put the new box itself. Of course, we're going to need a box, and this one here is made to be put into the wall so that you can actually put it in the opening that you cut, and you can screw it in, tighten it up, and it holds it nice and tight. All right. We are going to need a stud finder, not this particular brand, but any brand will do. This just happens to be the one I'm using. So we're going to need a stud finder. We're going to need some electrical wire. We're going to need a cover for the new switch once we do install it. And depending on what we find up underneath here, in this location here, we may need to use these connectors here to connect the romex cable to the box itself, but we'll see when we open it up. All right, so the first thing, of course, we're going to need something to measure so we can correctly measure where the box is going to be located. Now, this is where we're going to put the box down inside here. Check with your local building codes to find out what your height needs to be. If you don't know, if you don't want to call your building department to find out what the codes would be, just measure the rest of the receptacles around the house, how far they are above the floor, and then you can put it the same height. But you may want to check just to make sure. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we located the spot where we want to put it. We marked it here, and now we're going to put the box on here. We're going to trace it, and then we're going to cut it out with that saw right there. This is a sheetrock saw. But before we do any cutting in here, we're going to come on here with a stud locator just to make sure we have no studs in here. Now, someplace up underneath here, whether it's on this side or it's on this side, this box is going to be mounted to a beam because this is the original box that came with the house. Okay, so let's take this cover off first. Let's pull the switch out and let's get started. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this cover off right here, just so we can get in here and see where or what power we have inside this outlet here. All right, so we're going to take this off. We'll take this out of the way. We'll put this down for now. Now remember, you're working with a live box here. You may want to go shut your electrical power off on your main power feed before you start doing this. But I'm leaving the lights on so I can show you what to do with the lights still on. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to unscrew the switch. Then we're just going to pull it out slightly, just like this, so we can gain access into the wiring in the back right over here. Now what we want to do, let me bring you in there, maybe you can see it. What we want to do is we want to make sure we have power in here at all times. Now remember, I'm working with this hot. Yours will be off until you do this test, of course. Now what we're going to do, the switch you know is on. This is our power lead, and this is our neutral. So this one, we're just going to unscrew this cap for a second here, just like this. We're going to come in here. Now we're going to, in the bottom right here, we're going to put this one end of our tester in here like this, and touch this in there like that. And I don't know if you can see that, but you see how that light lights up there? See how that light lights up? That's got power. I'm just moving this around. That's got power in there right now. We're going to turn the switch off. And as you can see, we still have power in that switch. So we know we can tie in our socket into this here, because this has power here constantly. Even with the switch in the off position, we still have power there. Okay, so basically what we're going to do, I'm going to put this back on for now so I can show you. Basically what we're going to do is, okay, down in the bottom here, this box is what they call romex in here, so we do not need that piece right there. We're going to bring the wire up through the bottom right here, and we're going to put a screw through it to hold it in place. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you this. It's kind of a tight squeeze inside there. I don't know if you can see that. You see in the top of the box right here, you see this piece right here? We are going to put one of these down in the bottom right over here to hold the romex that we're going to feed through the bottom in this location over here. So this is going to be kind of hard for me to film it and do it, so I'll just, we'll do the rest of it for now. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now, okay, so now we have, for now we're just going to leave this right here. We're not going to do anything with that. We're going to come down in the bottom down here, and we're going to put the hole in the wall and feed the romex up. Okay, you can see right in the bottom of the box, you see that hole in there? I knocked out that one tab that belongs in there right like that, and we're going to feed our romex wire down through that tab right there, or through that hole right there, down to the bottom where we're going to put our new switch in, or our socket in. All right, so we are going to take this, see this bracket that's up in the top right there? We are going to put a new bracket on down over here so that that wire is held in place, but we'll do that in just a minute. All right, so for now, let's make our measurements down here, and let's cut a hole in the wall. Okay, so as you can see, I measured here where I wanted to put the box here. I brought the box up here. We are going to make this exactly 14 1/2 inches on center, so that's where it is right now, 14 1/2 inches up. And this will match everything else that's in the house right now. All right, so next thing we're going to do now is we're going to come in here, we're going to cut this open. Again, we're going to make sure there's no stud behind it before we cut it. And this will tell us if there's a stud behind there. Our stud is right here. So that's where our stud starts, right there. So as you can see, we have plenty of room to cut our box in. So now we're going to take this and we're going to make a very small hole right through here. Okay, and then we're going to cut nice and slowly. You don't want to puncture through to the wall on the other side, okay? So you want to go nice and slow. Just want to make sure that this falls outside. Okay, and now we'll just try our box, and we have to cut it just a little bit bigger, the hole, just to get it in. I always try to make it the hole so that I can make it a little bigger versus making it too big and it doesn't fit. All right, so let me just cut this a little bit bigger, and we should be fine. Okay, now when we try to put the box in, we can see it doesn't really fit perfectly, but what we're going to need to do is we need to make it just a little bigger. So what I do is I take a file such as this and just file it very little, just till it fits, because you want a snug fit inside here. Okay, and that's how the box is supposed to fit. Now, we're not going to install the box yet, but we are going to take it back out. Now, if you can't take it out, just remember these flaps might have flipped down and be stuck behind the wall. Just take the screw here and just turn this up, just like that, so you can get it out, okay? All right, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our wire like this, and we're going to feed it down from the top down to the bottom. All right, so let's open this up. Make sure you're using the correct wire for the job. Okay, we're just going to put this to the side right now, and this is what we're going to do. Now remember, I'm working with this live because I want to show you what to do, but you'll have the power turned off so that you won't get a shock. When I do get to that point, I'm going to turn the power off. All right, so now we're going to lift this up out of the way through that hole right down in the bottom there. We're going to feed this wire down through there until it comes out down the bottom over here. And we'll just keep feeding it until we can get it down the bottom. Okay, I just want to show you this. As you can see down here, we were able to pull the wire through here. We are going to take a little bit extra, just like that. Okay, we're going to leave a lot. We're going to cut it off later on, but I just want to leave extra right now. Okay, next thing we're going to do now, right up here, is we're going to come in here with our cutting pliers, and we're going to cut this wire off right here so we can work. Okay? Now what we're going to do is before we connect up right here, we're going to go down the bottom, and we're going to make our connection down on the bottom. All right, so let's do that first. Okay, so what we're going to do now is this box here, we want the wire to come in through here or here, whichever, it doesn't really matter. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come in here with a screwdriver. We're just going to push this a little bit just to break it loose now so we can squeeze our wire through, and then we're going to put the wire through this box right here, just like this. I hope you can see this. Okay. And we are going to leave a lot of extra wire. Okay, then we're going to take our box, put our box in the wall just like this, push it in place where we want it. And now we're going to take our Phillips head screwdriver. You can see what I'm doing here. Going to take your Phillips head screwdriver, and we're going to snug these screws down. Not real tight, but just till they're snug. Same thing up here. Okay, so now our box is now mounted in the wall. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to install our outlet onto the wiring right here. So let me get a cut pair of sharp utensil, and we're going to cut this down. This is the way our receptacle is going to go in. Our outlet is going to go in. It's going to go in just like this. But we are going to cut this wire a little bit shorter because it is too long. So we're just going to cut this down just like that. We're going to take our utility knife and we're going to cut these wires open right through here. Be careful you don't cut yourself. Going to take these out just like this. Okay, take our utility knife and we're going to cut the insulation on the outside just like this. Being careful not to cut the insulation on the wires themselves. And these are the wires we're going to be using. Now this receptacle here, the wires actually push in through the back, through these little tiny holes right here. I don't know if you can see that, but there's tiny little holes right there. It plugs into. Let's see if I can get a light in here and show you. See those little tiny holes? right there. That's where the wire plugs into. All right, so before we do anything now, we're going to screw these screws here all the way back in because we're not going to use these, okay? Next thing we're going to do is we're going to strip the wire down about a 1/2 inch. So we're going to use a set of wire strippers here to cut it down, just like this. You want to make sure that you don't damage the copper part right here when you're working with these cutters. Okay, strip that away. Okay, now we know that the black is our power and we know that the white is our neutral, and this is our ground. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our black and we're going to connect it up to this side right here. Our white is going to be connected up to this side here, and our ground is going to be connected here through that little switch, that little screw right there. All right, so first thing we're going to do now is we're going to take this, take the wire here, put it in the back like that, and push it. Give it a tug, make sure it's tight. Same thing over here. Push it in. Give it a tug, make sure it's tight, which it is. And now we're going to take this wire, we're going to put a little loop in the end of it, I'll show you. Just like this. And we're going to take it, put it around here. Just like this. And then we're going to tighten down this screw right here until it's tight. Okay, so that's it. Our wiring is now set. Now we're going to take this and we're going to put this back into the box right here. We're just going to fold the wires up a little bit. Now remember, this is dead. This is no power in here yet. Okay. Okay. And now we're going to screw our outlet back on, just like that. Okay. All right, so once we have that nice and tight now, we're going to take our cover and we're going to put our cover over the top of the new outlet that we installed. All right, this goes on just like this. Again, just nice and snug. You're screwing into plastic, so you don't want to go too tight. Just like that and like that. And then this part is done. Let's go up top and we're going to do our wiring up top now. Next thing we do is we grab our cutting tool and we cut the insulation about 3 inches down. We cut it all the way down, and we're going to strip the rubber part of the insulation away so we can gain access to the black, the white, and also that ground wire. All right, when you're cutting away the insulation, you don't want to damage the new wires that are inside there, so be very careful. And then we just cut it around the top so we can pull away the outside rubber insulation. Now we're going to separate all three of the wires, and we're going to pull them off to the side. The paper that you see inside that's around the ground wire, you can cut that away. It no longer needs to be on there, so we're just going to separate it from the wire, and then we'll cut it. And that's it. Our 3 wires are ready to be stripped down, or 2 of the wires can be stripped down with our wire cutters. Make sure you use the correct size opening to cut the wire insulation away. You don't want to damage the copper below. In this case, it's a 14 gauge wire, so that's the one we're using, a 14 gauge stripper. Okay, now we are going to take our wires and we're going to put them off to the side. And I am going to point this out to you now. I'm not going to be able to film it because it is very tight inside there where I'm going to be working. And of course, the power is in the off position. We're going to take our bracket that holds the romex to the metal box itself. We're going to put that bracket in there to secure the romex wire to the box itself so that it will not move. I am going to also attach the ground wire because that's also in the back of the box. All right, and now we're going to take our white wire and we're going to connect our white wire up to the rest of the white wires. We're going to twist them together, and then we're going to put the wire nut over the top of it to make it as tight as we possibly can. All right, so now our white wire is connected. Our romex wiring is connected through the bracket that holds it to the metal box itself, and our ground wire is connected with the rest of the ground wires inside the box and wrapped around each other. Next thing we're going to do now is we're going to come in here and we're going to connect up our black wire, and then we'll continue. Okay, so we're going to remove our wire nut by turning it counterclockwise, the black wire nut. We'll take our new wire that we just previously put in through the wall, and we're going to connect that up to the rest of the wires here as well. We're just going to bend it slightly so we can put it around the other black wires, and then we're going to rotate it in the clockwise position. And we're going to use our pliers to make that nice tight connection in here. And once they're nice and tight, we're going to come back in here with our wire snippers. We'll cut off any excess that may be on the end of it, so that way it won't interfere with the installation of the nut. Okay, we're going to grab our black wire nut now, and we're going to screw it on as tight as we can make it by hand. And once it's nice and tight, then we can just fold the wires back inside the wall, inside the box I should say, and then we're going to take our switch, bend those wires back in, and we'll reconnect the switch back onto the metal box where it was before. We're going to grab our Phillips head screwdriver, and we're going to attach everything the way it was. Okay, we turned our power back on in the circuit breaker box, and we're going to test it and make sure everything is working just the way it's supposed to. As you can see, our lights go off and on the way they're supposed to. We're going to check our outlet now and make sure we have power inside the outlet, which you can see we do. And of course, most importantly is that you're going to have power in the outlet when you turn off the switch up on top, which we will. All right, we're connected, turn the light off, and you can see we still have power. All right, next thing we're going to do now is we're going to put our cover back over the top of the box itself. Remember, it's only going into a plastic cover, so you don't want to over-tighten it and break it, so screw it in nice and easy. Okay, that's it. Light switch is done, outlet's finished. Okay, now we're going to put our nightlight into the new outlet that we installed, and we're going to make sure that when the light is off, the outlet still works and our nightlight functions just the way it's supposed to. All right, so as you can see, installing this plug is fairly easy. Once you just map everything out and make sure there's no beams behind it, it's a fairly easy procedure. The installation of this plug here probably cost all of about $10 to $15 and some time. All right, but that's it. This job is done, and now we can use this all the time here. All right, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.